This is Arum for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. First time, I believe, I'm actually interviewing Joe Markowski on UK shores. It's always in the States. Good to see you over here. How are you, Joe?
I'm good, mate. Good to be home.
Yeah, most certainly. Joe, a huge fight for not just women's boxing, but boxing. I'm sure DAZN share that sentiment as well. It transcends just the women's game as well, but it's a big fight for the sport.
Yeah, it does. I also think it transcends boxing, or at least it has the potential to transcend boxing, and that's how we're going to approach it. I think there aren't many boxing fights that give you the opportunity to cut through into a mainstream sports audience. This is definitely one of them, and that's the challenge that we've sort of set to our teams internally, is to go and use this to reach people who don't usually watch boxing. So yeah, it transcends women's boxing. I think it goes one step beyond that and has the potential to transcend the sport altogether.
Of course, we can hear Eddie Hearn at the press conference there. Another man involved in this fight will be Jake Paul, who's only going to benefit things for DAZN because it's really going to push the show. You've got Eddie and Jake pushing it.
Yeah, look, we've worked with Jake in different capacities a few times over the last few years. He's a really talented guy. Obviously, fallen in love with the sport of boxing. He's got a huge platform, and he's fallen in love with the idea of promoting women's boxing. So that's great for everyone involved, and we're really excited about all of it. So Jake's a great partner. He's someone who's obviously performing very well in the ring, and hopefully his involvement in this promotion will allow us to go and reach, as I say, a bigger group of people who don't usually watch the sport altogether, and especially not women's boxing.
Now, Joe, I did an interview recently with Bob Arum. I'm sure you saw his comments about the show clash firstly, and then just women boxing and women's sport in general. What was your take on his comments?
I think they're outdated, and I think the vast majority of people in and around sport disagree with them. I feel for his colleagues at Top Rank and his colleagues at ESPN, because I doubt they're the views of the majority of people who work for those organisations. Ironically, I think they've sort of blown back a little bit in his face, because the reaction's been so negative that it's positively enhanced what we're trying to do with this fight and this promotion. So look, Bob's a legend of the sport of boxing. He's achieved a lot. I respect him hugely, but on that specific issue and those comments, he's wrong, and I think the reaction suggests most people agree with me on that.
Anyways, on terms of that fight date, one fight's in Vegas. We believe Shakur and Oscar are going to go at the MGM Grand. One fight's in New York. So boxing fans, you can watch both.
Yeah, look, Shakur Stevenson himself put out that tweet suggesting we split it, which is a great idea, and we reacted and committed to that. That Jake's got behind that. It will take a couple of calls between us and ESPN. It won't be hard to sort out, and I think given the Katie Taylor UK and Irish angle, we'll probably end up going slightly earlier, and they're on the west coast of the States with a US focused fight, so it's a bit of a no-brainer that we go early.
That's very good to hear. And the fight itself, what do you expect from it, Joe?
It's a great clash of styles. I think both women are going to be probably slightly more nervous than they are in other fights, given the size of the occasion, but hopefully that passes quickly and we get a great sort of stylistic matchup. I think the atmosphere at MSG is going to be excellent. Ticket sales suggest that it's going to be a sellout, which is awesome. Travel bans lifted, so Katie's Irish contingent can come over and support. Obviously a big Irish contingent in New York anyway, and we've got next couple of months to really push it. So yeah, I think a great night of boxing, and a great night to sort of stop and acknowledge that we've made as an industry a whole lot of progress around women's sport, and celebrate that, and that's how we'll be approaching it the next couple of months.
Okay, just away from this card, massive card on April 30th, we'll want to ask you about Frank Warren's $41 million bid for Fury and Whyte. Of course, MATCHROOM, I think, held the record for about 10 seconds with a $32 million bid. Obviously, you guys wanted that fight clearly from that bid, but with that split of 80-20 in favour to Tyson Fury, was it always going to be a struggle to secure that fight?
Look, I think so. Eddie's been on record talking about that, and I think he's closer to the detail on that, so he's better placed to speak on it. I think the size of the bids tell you what you need to know in terms of the interest and intrigue there is from the public in heavyweight boxing and boxing right now. It's great for the sport that there's that much money being put up by different parties. We were never particularly confident, for all the reasons Eddie's laid out, that we'd be competitive in that bid. We expected it to go the way it did. We're delighted for Dillian, who's obviously waited a long time for his shot. But we're also very much excited about the other fights that can potentially come out of that heavyweight mix in the next couple of years. So we're better placed on a number of those fights than we are on that one specifically. And we'll be working with Eddie and our other promotional partners to make sure we get those organised as quickly as possible. Obviously AJ being the one sort of standout name from our perspective.
That was going to be my next question. So, since October, we've had Fury Wilder 3, which obviously is a BT and ESPN fight. We expected that to happen there. That happened there. Of course, Joshua Usyk won. The global rights were with DAZN, but UK-wise, that was a Sky box office fight. Fury Whyte, as I said, the bid was higher from MATCHROOM and DAZN, so there was clearly interest there. That lands on BT and ESPN exclusively. Moving into Usyk Joshua 2, Joshua's TV deal is still up in the air. So given DAZN haven't, in terms of a UK perspective especially, haven't had any of those big heavyweight fights in the last few months, is there more pressure to secure that fight in a UK right deal for Usyk Joshua 2?
There's no pressure, and definitely not pressure amounting to us making a bad deal, right? We'll make a good deal if it's available to us to make. And we've got a great relationship with AJ. He loves working with us. We love working with him. Obviously, Eddie's our lead promotional partner. So we'll see what comes out of the process. We're starting those conversations now. There's no date being thrown around yet. When there is, we'll be able to put a value against it, and we'll get into it. But I expect when it starts, that process to play out quite quickly, because it's a relatively simple deal to make for us or for someone else. So let's see how it plays out.
Okay. Just out of interest, if Eddie had secured Fury Whyte, obviously that would have landed on DAZN around the world. There were rumours going around that you've opened up a pay-per-view functionality. So if Fury Whyte was on DAZN, would that have been a pay-per-view fight, DAZN's first one? And how many buys do you think that would have done in the UK, Joe, for DAZN?
I won't get into numbers, but I think it would have been a pay-per-view on DAZN. And the reason we built pay-per-view functionality and the reason we sort of tested a few things last year that created that narrative is because we need to have it to get into the process for these fights that are coming up. Tyson Fury is an established pay-per-view fighter in the UK and actually in the US too now. Anthony Joshua is an established UK pay-per-view fighter. If we want to be competitive in the processes, in the conversations to get those rights and get those fights on DAZN, we need to have a pay-per-view platform. So we've built one and it's ready to go, and we'll use it sparingly when we need to. Ultimately, as we've always been committing to, is it's about consumer value for the fans, and that won't change with the rollout of pay-per-view. I still think we'll be a very good value broadcaster for UK and US boxing fans.
Just out of interest as well, I know Eddie was having conversations with Amir Khan and Kell Brook to bring that fight to DAZN, and both fighters said that the offer was actually higher, but it did land on Sky Sports box office. Was that a conversation you're having with Eddie as well? Khan Brook, could that potentially been a pay-per-view for DAZN?
I don't think we got into that level of detail around it. I think they've been offered a hell of a lot of money by Sky, and we wish them all the best, but we're pretty confident that our schedule and our the content we've got in the next few months on DAZN is more than justifies the subscription price, and that's what we're focused on pushing.
And my last question is, we saw reports over the last week, that the deal between DAZN and BT won't be taking place anymore. BT have entered exclusive talks with Discovery and Eurosport to do a potential joint venture. So yeah, just get your reaction to that news, please, Joe.
Not much to say. A process played out. We're involved in it. Clearly, that was well reported. It didn't work out in the end for us, and we wish BT and BT Sport and Discovery all the best. And that's really all there is to say.
And specifically, just Kevin Mayer's comment that the deal was uneconomical for DAZN.
Well, I think the process played out, and they had offers on the table from various different parties, and we chose to step out of the process. I think that's really the long and short of it.
Okay, well listen, I know you've got a show this Saturday as well, Jacobs Ryder live on DAZN, so everyone tune in. Should be a fun fight, an interesting fight with Danny Jacobs here in the UK. Joe, appreciate your time here in London, and we'll see you across the pond for Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano, all right? Thank you.
See you soon. Thanks, mate.